For the next two videos, we shall be exploring the 5Ds era, and in today's video, we will be talking about the Batteryman archetype, used by Tenpei Hayano from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and this is the guy who goes to the same class as Rua and Ruka, and he actually did not use them in any of the on-screen duels. The only reason why these guys are even eligible for the review is because in one episode their professor was listing the quote-unquote shitty cards their students are using, even though most of them were not shitty cards, which I find very interesting. And he listed one of the Batteryman cards that apparently Tenpei uses so frequently, and that's, like it or not, enough for them to be featured on the series. So anyway, they consist of 17 cards, just like Arcana Force. So let's take a look at them. So first off, we start off with their level 1 monster, one of their two level 1 monsters, Batteryman Microcell. It's a level 1 thunder monster with 100 attack and defense, and it's a flip effect monster, which when flipped allows you to special summon one level 4 or lower Batteryman monster from your deck except himself, and after this card has been flipped face up, when it is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, draw one card. You might be asking yourself, is this even worth running due to the fact that this is a flip effect monster in an archetype that has absolutely nothing to do with flip effects? And that's where you're wrong. To this day, Microcell is still a fantastic card due to its flip effect being able to special summon any level 4 or lower Batteryman monster from your deck, which of course most of them are not that worth running, but one of their best level 4 monsters is entirely worth it. And not to mention that even if it happens to be destroyed by battle when it's flipped face up after it's being attacked, you get to draw one card, which is always appreciated in my book. Due to the increase in the game speed, running 3 of these is not that advisable anymore, but 1 or 2 should be perfectly fine. There's a much better searcher coming right up, but as for their other level 1, we have Batteryman D. This is a level 1 with 0 attack and 1900 defense, and your opponent cannot select a Thunder type monster you control as an attack target except Batteryman D. On a level 1 with 1900 defense, this is a pretty solid-ish effect, since he also protects any other Thunder type monster, not just Batteryman. But it's not that worth running due to the fact that the Solar Flare Dragon situation does not apply here, since if you control 2 Batteryman Ds, the opponent can still attack any of them. So yeah, if he protected from effect targeting, then that would be a different story, but as it is now, it's okay-ish at best, but not exactly a staple or anything. It's searchable by 1/1 and Where Are Though, and that's about it. So yeah. Next up we have a real treat. We have Batteryman C. This is our first and only level 2 in the archetype. Has 0 attack and defense, and if all Batteryman Cs you control are in attack position, all machine type monsters you control gain 500 attack for each Batteryman C you control, and the same shit but for defense mode, and it increases defense points. For a heavily battle-focused archetype that focuses on dealing massive damage to the opponent, I guess this is perfectly acceptable. Except for like one teeny tiny little thing they forgot to clear out when designing this card. The fact that this card, which is in a Thunder-based archetype and only focuses on Thunder-type monsters, has an effect which affects machine monsters instead of Thunder monsters. Who screwed up there? God damn it. Yeah, the effect is alright-ish, but the fact that it's a freaking monster that supports the machine monsters instead of Thunder type monsters, I honestly don't know how something like this can happen. Like, I get missing a letter or two, or having a typo here and there, but to completely confuse a monster type, which are which are not even similar in any form or fashion, is just simply mind-boggling. And to clear something out which might be confusing to some people, the boost effect does not actually stack. And yeah, this actually, I honestly did not know that this could even be possible. But yeah, if you like control 3 Batteryman C, the attack boost is 1500, not 4500, and you might be asking yourself how that is. Well, I'm surprised it honestly took me this much to get it. If all 3 Batterymen C have the exact same effect, so it would be logical that all 3 of them give 1500 attack point boost to your machine type monsters, for a grand total of 4500 if you control 3 of them. Sadly, that is not the case, so yeah, it's not good, and completely ignore it if you want to make a sensible Batteryman deck, because this is just horrendously awful. Anyway, next up we have their very first monster, and the monster that actually appeared in the 5Ds anime, that being Batteryman AA, which is our first and only level 3 monster in the archetype. And it has the effect that if all Batteryman AAs you control are in attack position, this card gains 1000 attack for each, and the same shit for defense mode. And yeah, this, when it was introduced back in the Lost Millennium, I think, it was basically, the idea was to bring out all 3 of them at once, so you can have 3 level 3s with 3000 attack, which is mighty impressive. But back in the day, generic Thunder type support was pretty much non-existent, and the only consistent way to do so was with Inferno Reckless Summon, which was a card that had somewhat specific activation conditions. So yeah, but in modern variants, this guy is not that impressive, because their power output and their attack values tend to go way higher, and this guy is pretty much not worth running due to the fact that he only works between himself and the other copies of himself. So yeah. However, a monster much more worth running is their first level 4, that being Batteryman AAA. This one has the effect, has 0 attack and defense, and when this card is normal or flips face up, you can special summon a Batteryman AA or from your hand or graveyard. Not exactly that stellar, but it has a few very good applicabilities. First of all, it eats up your normal summon, which is completely asinine, but that was probably done due to the fact that if it was special summoned, that you can basically swarm the field with 3 AAAs effortlessly, even ignoring the fact that this card required some setup in order to work, because you needed another one of them in your hand or graveyard in order for the effect to actually go off. But yeah, as it is right now, it also served as a decent level 4 in other Thunder-based decks, with most likely Hundreds, because they are all about level 4 Thunder type monsters swarming. So yeah, but in actual Batteryman, it's not that much of a staple unless you're going for massive field presence and link spamming and XC spamming. So yeah, this one is purely run for the builds, depending on which build you decide to run and play with your Batteryman. Anyway, next up we have Batteryman 9V, one of their more recent support cards, and when this card is summoned, you can add 1 Batteryman monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, this card's attack and defense become double its original attack and defense, and you can only use this effect once per turn, and during your end phase, destroy this card. And essentially, you'll always run 3 of these and never any less, because it's a simple low-level searcher, whose search activates on any form of summon, being normal summon, normal, special, or flip summon. And not to mention that it's also a 2000 attack beatstick, which can basically avoid bottomless trap hole. And the end phase destruction is not that big of a deal, since you most likely want to use this card for either some good damage and then link it away, or tribute it for it in order to summon another one of their better monsters, which we'll get to soon enough. And yeah, you run 3 at all times and never any less. It's simple as that. Next up we have their newest piece of support, which is Batteryman Solar. This is another level 4, this one with 1500 attack and defense. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Thunder type monster from your deck to the graveyard. And if a Thunder monster is normal or special summon while this card is on the field, special summon one Batteryman token, which is a Thunder Light level 1 with 0 attack and defense. And you can target our Batteryman effect monster you control or is in your graveyard. This card's name becomes that monster's name until the end of phase, and you can only use each effect of Batteryman Solar once per turn. Okay, so the first effect is essentially him being an Armageddon Knight for Thunder type monsters, which Thunder types highly appreciate, especially Thunder Dragons. And not to mention that also that when a Thunder type monster is normal or special summon, you get a token, which is highly appreciated in the Link era. And their name changing effect is cute if you're doing some silly stuff with Batteryman AA or one of their tribute monsters, which we'll get to in a second. And also as for the Batteryman gameplay style, which is the high damage OTK values, this one is not that big of a staple due to the fact that he essentially does a bit more. He's a bit more focused on actual setup than the actual damage values. But in Thunder Dragons, he's pretty much a 3-off staple due to the fact of, well, him being an Armageddon Knight for Thunder monsters, which Thunder Dragons highly appreciate due to their archetype being filled to the brim with Thunder type monsters with graveyard effects. So, yeah, run by preference in an actual Batteryman deck. And next up we move on to their tribute monsters, first of which we have their first level 5 Batteryman Charger. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Batteryman monster except Batteryman Charger from your hand or deck, and it gains 300 attack and defense for each Thunder type monster you control. Essentially another 2 to 3 of staple due to the sheer amount of plays this card enables when you simply normal summon it. And yeah, the worst thing I can say about this card is that it eats up your normal summon and that it requires a tribute in order to pull it off. But thankfully it says the normal summon and not tribute summon, which means you can use a rare star changer or any level manipulation card to basically change this card's level to level 4 or lower in order to simplify getting to the lovely special summon from the deck. And combined with Monarch Stormfort, it also makes the core of the Batteryman playstyle along with 2 copies of Charger and 3 copies of 9 volts. So yeah. And next up we have their final level 5, which is Super Electromagnetic Voltec Dragon. And if you tribute summon this card by tributing one of the following monsters, it gains the following effects. If you tributed Batteryman D, you negate the effects of all spell or traps that target this card. If Batteryman C is tributed during battle between this attacking card and defense position monster, it inflicts piercing damage. And if Batteryman AA is tributed, this card gains an additional 1000 attack. The Batteryman C effect is entirely irrelevant since piercing battle damage is not all that impressive and highly irrelevant in this format of the game. But the Batteryman AA and the Batteryman D effects are actually quite decent, especially for the time when this thing came out. But the problem lies in the fact that he is still a tribute monster, which specifically needs to be tribute summoned in order to actually do anything, and all he does is, well, beat over stuff, which I have the cards in the archetype and can do much better with just lesser amount of setup. So yeah. Run 1 at most if you really feel like it, along with, of course, the appropriate monsters, which, of course, you also have to make some room for. Now we move on to their level 6 and their only level 6 monster, that being Batteryman Fuel Cell. If you control 2 or more face-up Batteryman monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and once per turn you contribute 1 Batteryman monster except this card, and select a card your opponent controls and return it to its owner's hand. Essentially, it's an archetypal double X stable or full troll with his neat special summoning condition with an impressive 2100 attack on a level 6. Okay, it's not that impressive, but considering this is a special summonable level 6, it's just about all you need. And not to mention, this special summoning condition is not even once per turn, so if you open up multiples, you can even go into some rank 6s they have access to, or simply not, since the damage values they provide they basically get butchered when you go into the any extra deck plays. And not to mention, this also has a very neat bouncing effect, which basically attributes one Batteryman as a cost, which might be a bit too tricky to pay for sometimes, but most of the time you can basically clear out any card your opponent controls, which is highly appreciated, so Fuel Cell is usually run at 2 or 3. Now we move on to their final monster, which is Batteryman Industrial String. This is a level 8 Thunder type monster with 2600 attack and 0 defense, and this card cannot be normal summoned or set, and this card cannot be special summoned except by removing 2 Batteryman monsters from your graveyard. Once per turn you can remove from play 1 Thunder type monster from your graveyard to destroy 1 monster and 1 spell or trap on the field. Essentially, this is Blackluster Soldier for the archetype, as in with the special summoning condition requiring you to banish 2 Batteryman monsters, which can be a bit costly if you don't have extensive graveyard setup. And the effect, if you actually manage to pull it off, which you most likely will, you can banish any Thunder type monster, which is again very appreciative. It allows you to destroy 1 monster and 1 spell or trap on the field, which is essentially, well, 2 cards on the field. 2 specific cards, mind you, but still, multi-removal during that time was all the rage, as it was made around the time when Gladiator Beasts were a thing, but it did not quite compare to stuff like Gladiator Beast Gyzarus, due to the fact that Gyzarus had a lot more to work with, especially along with combination with Bestiari, so yeah, run 3 of them due to the fact that you can also use them as trade-in ammo, so to boost the consistency of the deck even more. So yeah, great card. And now we move on to their back row. First of which we have Battery Charger. Pay 500 life points. Special summon 1 Batteryman monster from your graveyard. Simple archetypal monster reborn. You literally never ever run any less than 3 of them. So yeah, this one's good. Next up we have Quick Charger, which allows you to target 2 level 4 or lower Batteryman monsters from your graveyard and add them to your hand. This is a quick play, and it's not that better than Battery Charger. Yeah, you can recycle them back into the hand in order to summon them later with some other stuff. It is double recycling, but you would most likely want to resummon that monster instead of just recycle it. But then again, running 1 or 2 couldn't possibly hurt. Recycling batteries is a very similar card, but it allows you to target two of any Thunder type monsters with 1500 or less attack in your graveyard and recycle them. So essentially, it also recycles Batteryman, some specific Batteryman, so their tribute monsters are a no-go. So yeah, and also it allows you to recycle some other Thunder type techs such as Hunders and some Watt cards if you decide to run them. You know, if you for some reason want to make a Watt Hopper lock in Batteryman, you can. And yeah, it's essentially you basically run the same number of these as a Quick Charger, so 1 or 2 of each. So yeah. And next up we have Electromagnetic Shield, and holy Jesus, what a drip in quality. Level 3 or lower, defense position, Thunder type monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, and destroy this card if you control a face-up attack position monster. Where do I even begin? First of all, it's limited to level 3 or lower defense position Thunder type monsters. How very specific, of which the archetype only has 4 cards, and not to mention one of the said cards goes against the entire logic of the deck, and not to mention that there are barely any level 3 or lower Thunder type monsters in the game, since most of them are level 4 or higher. The only other one that's not a Batteryman I can think of is, well, the Watt Hopper and, well, Thunder Dragon Matrix. And some other irrelevant Watt cards which nobody ever runs, so yeah, don't run this. Ignore, walk away and never look back at it again. And their final spell card is Short Circuit. Activated only if you control 3 or more Batteryman monsters. Destroy all cards your opponent controls. Well, considering the deck's infamous swarming ability, this is basically very accessible and not that busted Raigeki, which is really amazing. The fact that they can so effortlessly spew out 3 monsters on the field makes this thing a very, very potent form of removal, and the only problem I have with it is that it is not the most searchable card out there due to its name. But hey, we might get some other Batteryman support which will help out search this thing. But until then, 2 is the most optimal number you run this. So yeah. And the final card is the Continuous Trap Portable Battery Pack. Select 2 Batteryman monsters from your graveyard and special summon them in attack position, and when this card is removed from the field, destroy those monsters, and when both of those monsters have been removed from the field, destroy this card. Essentially, it's a double call of the Haunted for the archetype. However, the problem I have with it is that it strictly says 2 Batterymen and not up to 2. So in most scenarios, the OG call of the Haunted works a bit better. However, running 1 couldn't hurt since it's basically a double battery charger with no cost. So yeah. Then again, you also run 3 of those, so 1 is the most optimal number for a portable battery pack. And now let's go give out some battery grades. In terms of consistency, the Thunder type support, generic Thunder type support, isn't that plentiful, but the internal archetypal consistency is just enough for me to give it a 2 out of 3. Why 2 out of 3? Well, because most of it relies on you normal summoning stuff, which is not that great in today's meta. Now, in terms of power, it's 3 out of 3. I literally 0 complaints in the power department. I would make it a 10 out of 3 if I could. In terms of combat ability, it's pretty much a 3 out of 3 due to the sheer amount of recycling and resummoning cards the archetype has. So yeah, I have to be really generous here. Now, in terms of protection, it's literally non-existent due to the fact, well, that this is pretty much a very aggressive battle-oriented deck, and those don't tend to have any protection at all, so 1 out of 3 there. Now, in terms of versatility, well, they can synergize very well with Hunters, they have some Watt cards which they can essentially run in order to turn the tide of the duel around. Short Circuit and Recycling Batteries are very versatile cards which also do wonders for the archetype. So yeah, in terms of versatility, they have plenty, but due to the fact that Thunder is one of the most underrepresented monster types in the game, I'll not be giving it a 3 out of 3, but it does deserve at least a 2 out of 3 in my opinion. So Batteryman are quite decent actually for a battle-oriented archetype that started out in the very early stages of the GX era. They evolved quite well, I want to say. And in terms of the actual battle-focused archetypes, they are one of the, if not the best battle-focused archetype in the game. So yeah, they still don't have the combos, battle combos such as like Fortune Lady Dark resummoning another Fortune Lady Dark, or even resummoning Fortune Lady Water for some draw power. But yeah, they can get theirs, but that was not really the most powerful aspect of the archetype, as in their back row is just as efficient as actual monster effects, but I wouldn't actually be surprised if they get like a retrain of Batteryman Charger, which has the exact same effect, and also the added revival effect from the graveyard when it pops a monster by battle. And yeah, so anyway, that was pretty much it for Batteryman, and now next time we'll be heading into my 200th archetype analysis, and I have a very special archetype just for the occasion. I plan to do it regardless, but due to how fast the 200th video in this topic has arrived, I will have to schedule it a bit earlier than that. So thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos and updates. Comment, like, and subscribe. As usual, I'll upload the next video whenever I can, and see you all and have a good day. Peace.